It's there's a bunch of other stuff happening. That was exactly what it was, ladies and gentlemen who are just discovering this later on. What happened was I was in the middle of doing my morning show, and my computer gave me a message that it was not charging, and so I unplugged and plugged everything as it was going on, and still nothing. Each time, every single time, it would I plug in a new power source or switch the cable, nothing, and then I did a restart, and magically it's all of a sudden charging. So clearly there's an update I need to go through, but that's a really weird one. That's one of the strangest ones I've ever seen. So congratulations to everybody who managed along with me to sit through that mild panic. But here we are. We're back. Remind everybody to reload. Also, you're probably going to have to re-like the stream if you do that. Apparently, according to YouTube, how to make it big videos on YouTube that I've been watching, and on Twitch, the like button really does have an algorithmic impact. By the way, a thumbs down also helps, but just the activity. The thumbs up helps to promote it. The thumbs up or down just means that it's got eyeballs and still helps. But there you go. So I fit it. Yes, I did. I fried or fixed it. I fixed it. Yes, I basically it just needed a restart, and it was one of like the computer itself just decided to panic. That was very weird. That was one, and again, it's one of those things where in my early years of doing tech support as a way of making ends meet, you know, the turn it off and turn it back on thing. I mean, it's a sweet fix. It works so often because, and I think this is because computers have souls and they're angry with us all the time, and we need to give them a nap sometimes. It's like they get hangry or grumpy when they're tired, like toddlers. Thank you, Karen. It's so cliche, but it works. Yeah, 60% of the time, it works every time. Or to quote Bad Boys, my shit always works sometimes. Your first feed went 33 minutes. Coinky Dink. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Clearly. Liberal New World Order. Liberal New World Order. I don't have a psycho sound effect. I need to come up with something along those lines. Let's see. What do I have? Do I have anything close to that? No. No, I don't. That's not nearly scary enough. This is officially the worst thing you could put into The Shining to scare someone. See what I mean? Like, that would have ruined Psycho. I don't know why I'm doing that. Anyways, I guess I'm just happy that I don't have to worry about it. Oh, thank you, Angela. And my computer now says updates available. No shit. What I would have never guessed that apparently there were issues. And we'll close this guy. And oh god. Now, I guess we have to jump into this to some degree. Here you go. This is so along with the fact that maggot is trending, you're welcome. But along with that as well this morning, lock her up. But in sports, look at that. Sports trending, lock her up. Trending with only 60. What is this? What the what? Oh, so yeah, so this is Tina Peters, who was in she was in Vegas, and she apparently violated her bond. Yeah, she left the state without notifying the court, and then she got an arrest warrant, and then she went to Vegas, and then she got busted for being a scam on the run. Joe Biden's Justice Department is sending 69-year-old grandma with breast cancer to prison for 60 days for trespassing entering the Capitol on January 6th. Shameful. Hold on. Why is this? Why was a 69-year-old grandma with breast cancer at the Capitol that day? When she was 68, I suppose. Fuck y'all, a memoir. Hillary's recipe emails were lock her up criminal, but Secret Service missing text during a violent insurrection, no big deal. Yeah, that's also part of, I mean, the main one is coming around is around Tita Peters. Oh, this is Pam Hemphill. She stormed the Capitol on January 6th. She's now playing the victim because of only 60 days. Lock her up. Oh, that's adorable. Yeah, so most of this is about Tina Peters, and I guess a little bit of Ginny Thomas thrown in for good measure. What? You have the trial when she created this entire murder to happen. If 100-plus-year-old Nazi guards can be locked up for being an accessory during the Holocaust, so can she? Stop giving cover lame. Who? In an unpublished memoir, Carolyn Bryant Donham says she was unaware of what would happen to the 14-year-old when he was abducted, killed, and tossed in a river. The who? Oh, the Emmett. Oh, that's right. She's the Emmett Till accuser. Yeah, because she recanted later on. Right, and now they want to go after her. I mean, I think the Nazi prison guard analogy is workable. Let's say. I mean, obviously, you had to be a lot more committed to the overall project to be a Nazi prison guard, I would guess. Question must be mulled over these days. How long before an American woman was prosecuted for an abortion? And no, this isn't a dystopian storyline anymore. The readout, yeah. This is, oh, okay. Like, watch that gate and left arm bend. Just saying. Oh, this is where they look at her, how she walks, and then yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this is the kind of thing, like, if you saw it on, Forensic Files or something, and I think they've seen those, like, she has those shoes. I mean, to me, that's fascinating. If they ever found out, like, that she didn't have an alibi for that time period, holy shit. Joe Biden's Justice Department, right? How about the Justice Department is enforcing the law? There's a stack of stuff around that stuff. Stranger Things star Noah Schnapp on Will's sexuality. He is gay and he does love Mike. Yeah, we know. And it's a sweet story and it's heartbreaking. I mean, the parallels between my life growing up and my best friend growing up and the fact that he was gay, and when I first started getting, I had a girlfriend, and the weirdness that ensued and the other stuff that was going on. I mean, maybe it tuned me to see that storyline a little quicker, but it seemed clear from almost the beginning that this is where it was headed. These 5 housing markets are cooling faster than anywhere else in the U.S. You mean the prices are dropping? Right. In San Francisco, right? Yeah. Cooling at this point. Like, again, this is like the stock market, man. One of the funniest things about the stock market is people will literally talk about the stock market being down one day when it was up the day before. But it's like up 9 points the day before, but it's down today by 1 point. That ain't down. That's still up from 2 days ago. I mean, it would be like a monthly rise might be a conversation worth having, or monthly dip, because it points to a genuine trend. But especially when it's like, if it gained 9 points and then it lost them in a day, I mean, that could just be a pump. There's enough computerized pump and dumps going on out there. The stock market is not the economy. Agreed. Yeah. It's a bellwether of some people's of like pension plans and retirement age people, and what they will be able to make and spend, because if they have, a big enough pension package, but they make money on the dividends, and the dividends themselves are, because the package amongst the pension is big enough where they can dole out dividends enough to the pensioners that it is a meaningful amount monthly or quarterly to their living, which happens a lot in the United States. That's the area where the stock market is the economy. Is that when giant pensions are invested in funds that cover a wide swath of things, and there's a huge dip, then the dividends go down and the payments out to retirees through those pension plans go down, and that can materially have an effect. So that's why when the stock market crashes, it does hurt people in that age range who, Social Security isn't going to cut it. Wish Jeff Miller did a live show on YouTube too. She gets such a wider audience. I agree, Captain Terp. I will continue to keep talking to her about it. And by the way, cooling means taking a shit. They were overheated artificially, and then they started collapsing. There you go. So change in price per square foot was 15%. Change in inventory 39%, 24%. Change in price drops 24% in price drops. Change in pending sales down 15%. Yeah, these prices are too big for these areas. These are, and by the way, the reason why people are bailing out of this, because these are inventories created by companies like BlackRock. These are investor prices, not the general public wanting to buy a house. A housing market crash like this helps the average home buyer. It's bad news for the investment class. Whoops, what is this? Okay. Why is this all of that? Don't move over. My computer's trying to tell me you need an update. I know. While Bay Area homes values are still very high, data from 2 national real estate listing sites show the housing market here is finally seeing a slowdown for the first time since the start of the pandemic. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, and Khashoggi's in the news because Biden's meeting with the widow of slain Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Says President Joe Biden has promised to bring up her husband's name when he meets with the top Saudi official this week. Newsmax is pissed about this, I guess. Jamal Khashoggi, will you apologize to his family? I shouted to the Crown Prince bin Salman at the end of the press pool spray. Oh, all right. MBS had a slight smirk before a Saudi aide grabbed my arm tightly. Yeah, good times. Sometimes we forget how good we got it over here. Manic show brutal murder. I don't know why the White House somehow thought a fist bump would look better than a handshake. Well, he ain't gonna get a necklace around his neck, and he ain't bowing to the dude. But at the same time, the Saudis, I'll tell you why. There's a difference between shaking on something, which means we agree on a lot, and just going, hey, man, there's a huge difference in the two of those things. And the Saudis just today, I'm going to see if this is, whether it's a fist bump or handshake, MBS still gets what he's longed for, a very public display of validation by the leader of the free world. Again, it's not on the same level. Let me find something real quick. I posted this earlier. I think it was on Bloomberg. Fist bump Biden gets and I love how this is changing. This storyline is changing over time, or the title of this is changing over time. But this is there you go. Biden gets a small Saudi win ahead of visit where he needs a big one. Ahead of the visit. So before he the State Department, Blinken, and the Biden team have been arguing this point with the Saudis that Israeli flights can now go over Saudi Arabia and land there commercially. Which if you'll remember, during the whole Abraham's Accord shit, you know, Qatar starts doing that, and Bahrain, and Trump is touting that he cured he solved Middle East peace. U.S. not just win with deal on Israeli flights over Saudi Arabia. Meeting with Saudis and Gulf allies could yield future oil boost. They don't have that many more. This is more about trickle down with the rest of the countries, because if you fist bump with Saudi Arabia, maybe the other countries that actually do have more oil reserves will up their percentage. And you don't need everybody to do a full 5% push. You need everybody to go up like 1.5%. That's why no huge promises and the like. Air Force One touched down in the city of Jeddah Friday, just the second time a U.S. president has arrived on a direct flight from Israel to Saudi Arabia. He was greeted at the airport by Khalid Al Faisal, a senior royal who's governor of Mecca, and Princess Rima bint Bandar, the Saudi ambassador to the U.S. On the purple carpet reserved for the itinerary was choreographed by the White House to amplify the chief accomplishment of Biden's trip so far, the announcement by Saudi Arabia that it will open its airspace to all carriers, including those from Israel. Decision means flights from Asia to Israel will no longer need to make lengthy detours. The U.S. has encouraged Israel and Arab countries to bolster their cooperation to better counter Iran's regional influence. Now, this is a huge part of this. Okay, so one of the other stories, and let me see if I can find this, because this fascinated me as well. We talked about the sort of Kazakhstan factor, where the pressure on Russia and the pressure on like the movement away from them towards European connection, as opposed to just sending their oil and gas to China on orders from Moscow, is a really, geopolitically, would be a gigantic story if Ukraine wasn't happening right now. But Saudis is anti-Israel. I see what this is. So this is 2 days ago. This is why the fist bump. Let me show you this real quick. This on top of the Saudis opened the airspace at the White House and through Tony Blinken. Let's see. They negotiated this thing and it happened. So that basically, they could fly in that way and make a show of it, and it would happen and it would continue going on. Now check this out. This is the other reason, and this is part of the story that's sort of going on in terms of. Let me see if I can shrink this down a little bit so you can see the whole thing. Saudi mindset shows signs of shift towards Israel. Israeli journalist Yoav Lamor did not know what to expect when he traveled with a colleague this month to Saudi Arabia, a country long notorious for promoting anti-Israel sentiment in textbooks and in sermons by some imams. They were in for a pleasant surprise, he wrote in a subsequent column for the Israel HAL paper, as Saudi market vendors and taxi drivers mostly greeted them with curiosity rather than disdain. Some smiled and shook their head in disbelief or worry. Others were curious and struck up a conversation, wrote Lamor. But no one made us feel unwelcome. That is striking, considering the state of the world right now. U.S. President Joe Biden's trip to the Middle East, which began on Wednesday, has fueled speculation of a possible breakthrough of normalizing. Here you go. And this, again, we all know that. Let's see if I can move. Oh, I guess not. All right. I gotta blow this up a little bit like that, and then move it over here. There. I'll move myself out of the way a little bit, but U.S. President Joe Biden's trip to the Middle East, which began on Wednesday, has fueled speculation of a possible breakthrough in normalizing ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia, which does not recognize the Jewish state. The kingdom has repeatedly said it would stick to the decades-old Arab League position of not establishing official ties with Israel until the conflict with the Palestinians is resolved. Analysts stress that despite growing behind-the-scenes business and security contacts, any immediate gains are likely to be more incremental than the U.S. brokered Abraham Accords, which created ties between Israel and two of the kingdom's neighbors, the UAE and Bahrain, which are, of course, because there's no big deal to those people doing it. Yet the experience of Lamore, who qualified for a tourist visa because he holds a non-Israeli passport, hints at changes in Saudi public opinion that officials hope could one day lead the groundwork for a formal bilateral relationship. U.S. officials say it shows meaningful progress towards the kind of deal that would, for Israel, represent the ultimate diplomatic prize. For too many decades, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was a great exporter of Jew hatred, said Deborah Lipstadt, yeah, the Washington special envoy to combat anti-Semitism, in a speech this month after visiting the kingdom in June. But what I found is something quite different, something that has changed there dramatically in the last few years. Potential allies. Signs of transformation appeared well before the Abraham Accords pushed by the Trump administration, which Riyadh has so far refused to join. Saudi textbooks once designated Jews and other non-Muslims by depicting them as animals and asserted that disobedience is characteristic of the Jews. That was in their in school textbooks. But they have been undergoing revision for years, as documented by the Israeli nonprofit group Impact SE, which monitors textbook content. At this point, anti-Jewish material has been largely removed, which is greatly to be admired, the group said in a June report. The Saudi Education Ministry did not respond to questions. Anti-Israel speech by imams is also generally rare, and the Islamic Affairs Ministry has encouraged a rejection of bigotry. That's a big step. The U.S. State Department said in its latest human rights reports on Saudi Arabia. Muhammad Al Issa, a Saudi cleric who heads the Muslim World League, won praise from Israel in January 2020 after he traveled to Poland for events marking 75 years since the liberation of the Nazi death camp in Auschwitz. King Salman hosted Jerusalem-based Rabbi David Rosen the following month, and during Ramadan that year, the Saudi-controlled NBC network aired a television show in which a character brushed aside the taboo of doing business with Israel. Again, this is how it's going to happen. That is a good thing. And that is why there's this tightrope walk between relations between the United States and Saudi Arabia, because you want to coax them in that direction. You want to move them in that direction. And hyper shunning when they might, even based on the fact that, and again, there should at some point be a comeuppance for the Khashoggi murder, I believe. And I think MBS is obviously directly implicated and was in charge of that killing. That said, what the State Department and the Middle Eastern governments and Israel and the United States are weighing that against is the safety and security of many, 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 many people first, and then find a way to go after that. That element of it. I mean, it's the difficulty of those kind of politics in the world. Yeah, and then that's why, if I'll show this right here real quick, why Palestine is trending more than likely in links to this. There's also, the Joe Biden greeted by protest during brief visit to Palestine. Let's see. Yeah, this is Peter Alexander again. Slain Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh stares out from a photo on an empty chair in the presidential compound ahead of POTUS and President Abbas's joint statements. It reads, Shireen Abu Akleh, the voice of Palestine. The EU is prepared to do a gas deal with Israel, a state that has consistently found a breach of international law. Ireland has a duty to draw attention to this hypocrisy on an international level. Biden, you're part of Israel's apartheid. And they are, I guess, releasing these balloons from Jerusalem, the capital of Palestine. It was and will remain the capital. Okay. All right. This is why it's showing up. We asked Palestinians, what's the first thing you'll do once Palestine is free? Answered Palestinian Beth. Oh, these sweet kids. They're going to go pray at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, go to Haifa. Yeah, a lot of them just want to pray at the mosque. I'll go to Germany to see my uncle. Aw. And my mom will take us on vacation to Jaffa. He wants to go to Haifa, Jaffa, Israel, Jerusalem. I'm sorry. Man, People just want to be people. That's just beautiful. Which this one? This is Joe Biden now. He's in the Middle East lying about how the U.S. is trying to help Palestinians after investing. Democrats are most deceitful politicians. Right. That's a... He supports Ukraine but not Palestine, and we all know why. Who is this? I'm absolutely neutral, not neutral with Russia. You're recording me and you're not going to use... Who is this? I don't know where he is. All right. Palestine has the world's best watermelon. All right, now simmer. Um, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who the president is. That's oftentimes how the tweets are going to come fast and furious about that. Linda Ronstadt, 76. Yeah, she's the same age as my mom. And my mom was a huge Linda Ronstadt fan in Tucson. Blue Bayou, poor, pitiful me. I mean, so many, like, this, I mean, everything's a reboot, but so much of this stuff could have been released today. I mean, there's some, like, so many of her, yeah, you're no good. Man, I, like, so many of these songs, When Will I Be Loved? It hurts, but yeah. So many of these songs, like, they have these permanent melodies. They're just always in your head. You just hear the title and then the song comes back. Oh, don't tell me Blackberries are coming back. Blackberry singing in the dead of night. Take your broken PDA and learn to fly. I think these are Blackberries. Okay, good. Right. Gangnam Style. Oh my God, that song's been in my head for 2 days because my kid and my mom were watching Nut Job again for the 9,000th time the other night. Is there a new release? Turns 10 billion views. Groundbreaker. Still one of the YouTube's top 5 videos. Okay. This is so funny with the sound off. I want to just do a whack. Doink, doink. Oink. Just like throw in like lame sound effects just underneath. Why is he yelling at her butt? Why does he yell at her butt? I just don't. That makes sense. I love that he's wearing a. He's just yelling at her butt. Okay, sure. I mean, as you do. Oh, Madam Web. Spider-Man. Yeah. Adam Scott joins Sony Spider-Man spin-off Madam Web. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's that launch. The Madam Web Juggernaut story, just one of my favorites. Yeah, this one. Nice. So yeah, so there we are. That's our trends for today, and I'm shocked I was able to come like get the show together and actually make it happen. It's great. That's what men do in Seoul, is it? Some are into bets. I agree. I mean, that's nothing wrong with that. How remember the Russians have a poison ring that can kill so many. That's why Joe fists. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it's got that little needle on the inside. They show it in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. The world is on fire. That should be trending for fuck's sake. Uh, hmm. The issue is, I mean, the world is not technically on fire. There are ongoing wildfires. We have to deal with climate change, and the Ukraine war is happening. Um, but in the rest of the world, most people are either dealing with the coming food crisis, inflation worldwide caused by the pandemic, and the tectonic shift in the world economy that is coming from everybody moving out of China. But that's why it's not trending, because everybody's got their own problems. There's a stack of things. I miss Randy, California. Is that a town or just the fact that you think California is particularly horny as a state? Yep, the world keeps turning. Thank you guys much for my YouTube. It's my packing listening helper. I'm glad to be of service, Jacques. And wherever your travels take you, I hope you arrive safely and find new joyous adventures. Randy, California, Spirit, I see. We have a bad drought in the Midwest right now. Everything is crispy. Yeah, it's thank you, Kim Lim. It's curious here. In Cleveland, there's a lot of bugs and it's pretty damp. Even though it's humid all the time, so there's no rain per se while we're here. They had it like a week ago, I want to say, but it's overall the plants are thriving because of the general amount of water in the air. It's funny to me that if for whatever geopolitical reason over the years, if the U.S. Capitol had been set in, say, Salt Lake City, or Reno, Nevada, or someplace in New Mexico, there would be a sense of urgency about the climate that you don't necessarily have because it's set in DC, because that entire area around Virginia is overrun with trees and it's very green all the time. And even when it's hot, it's muggy. So there's water in the air and they're on the water. They've got, so it's easy to forget. Um, he's cashing in on her death. I want an autopsy. Oh, the Ivana thing. Um, and by the way, I'm fairly certain Ivanka as a name means little Ivana. It's like Ivana Jr. in Czech. Yeah, and I don't know if it's standard to drop the K when you're older, in history. Like when you get you get up in age and you eventually they start referring to you as Ivana because you're older. It's kind of like um, taking the junior off or the lil off somebody's name. Does Chip get credit for your vocals and your extremely catchy, can't get out of my head themes too? Yeah, no, Chud does, and Murphy. When he did comment on Tiffany's features as a baby, well, he did comment on Tiffany's features as a baby. Ugh. She's Marla's kid. Oh, my light died. That's when I know I'm done. Is when my lights start to turn off because they're battery operated. All right, I am gonna sign off, and I will be back this afternoon. I might be a little late because we of travel time coming back from my cousin's house because we're helping them set up for the graduation party tomorrow. But I will be on. I will be on. So if I'm a little bit late, please forgive. And now that we know that we have power, everything should be fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. It wasn't her legs. He did this. He made a boobs reference. Barf City. He said something about Paris Hilton when she was young. Yeah, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. I'm like, when are we going to be adults enough to not sexualize children, uh, or allow those that do to control the conversation around children? I mean, yeah. Hal's in a bunker. Yes, I am. I've got prepper food right behind me. I'm about to eat an entire tub full of pancake batter. Well, powder. I don't want to waste the water. All right, I'll see you guys later. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And remember, I will be on this afternoon, albeit slightly late. Fingers crossed. Everything will work fine. I'll have to up my lighting so that I don't get this kind of craggly lighting because that light died. I'll try. I'm working on it. I'm doing my best. You know, on the road, it's always an issue. But thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it more than you know, and I will see you later today.